Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Experts Game Podcast. My name is Matt Rudisell, and I'm your host. I'm excited to be here, especially with our guest today. His name is Carl Gray III, and we've got lots of exciting things to learn. So let me cue the introduction, and as soon as we get it done, we'll be back with Carl. Here we go.
My name is Matt Rudisell, and I've been a business owner for the past 24 years, helping others get what they want out of life. I help people and businesses grow with the help of one-on-one coaching, social media assistance, and planning that will get them to that next level. But instead of working with you myself, I developed this podcast to share with you what others are actually doing. These people are your neighbors, your friends, could also be you. But do you consider yourself an expert? Do you know someone who is? Have you ever wondered what it takes to become that person? Well, today, in this episode of the Experts Game Podcast, our guest will share with you the struggles, hardships, and successes they've experienced on their way to becoming an expert in their field. You don't want to miss it, so grab your notebook and pen, and we'll get started in just a moment.
Okay. Welcome back. I hope you guys didn't get too bored with that intro. But
I like it.
Hey, you know something that's really funny about the intro, and I'll go ahead and throw this out. I've been using this intro for about 2 years now, and I just got a little ding on my YouTube account last month. It wasn't really a ding. They just gave me a warning. It said it's a trademark violation in your video. And I'm like, okay, first of all, I made all that music myself. I did all that in like GarageBand.
Mm-hmm.
Who's using my music? And I found out that some band in England trademarked a small little portion, maybe about 2 seconds of it, back at the very same month that I first did my first podcast live.
Wow.
So don't know where it came from, but that's what it is. So today, like I mentioned earlier, we are with Carl Gray III. Got lots of great stuff that I want to hear about and I want to learn about today, but I want to give you an introduction first. So I pulled this from somewhere, maybe off of your website or a police report. I don't know what it was, but it says Carl Gray III is an award-winning business solutions architect. We'll talk a little bit about that title here in a few moments, but he specializes in helping entrepreneurs to start, grow, launch, and scale their businesses by architecting custom business solutions. Carl has a wealth of experience in business, IT, and process development, which is kind of where we met a little bit. I heard about your cybersecurity camp. We'll talk about that today also. He has been involved in businesses ranging in size from startups to multi-million-dollar companies. In addition to his work in the private sector, he's also developed strategic plans for federal agencies and consulted for some of the largest cities in the nation. It reminds me, I've got a picture of you somewhere in a really nice coat and tie standing at the White House. So I may throw that in as the thumbnail.
Nice.
Get people to come take a look at this. Carl has a few courses online. They are the Launch with Carl. That's one of your businesses, actually. Launch with Carl, Learn from a Hacker, and a new podcast that you're starting out called Friends with Business. And it just premiered yesterday. Excited about that. But the online courses you've got are 5-day perfect customer challenge, 4 days to launch a business. And on top of all that, you're the author of the 7-day business plan, which I think came out in November of 2022.
Yes, sir.
Amazon. He serves as a number of other nonprofit boards and has launched a summer camp program teaching teens cybersecurity and entrepreneurship. And then finally, your goal to inspire 1 million people to launch their own businesses. That's pretty impressive. Pretty large goal, but I think you, based on our conversation. So, Carl, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day. Why don't you just tell us a little bit more about yourself and what you're passionate about?
Man, well, thank you for the intro. I have to thank my assistant for writing up that biography about me. No, I love it. All of those things are true. So, just a little bit of history about me. I'm, here in Prince George's County, Maryland, born in the District of Columbia. Just kind of grew up in a place where just a lot of hustle and bustle going on. While I did grow up in what many would call the quote unquote hood. I was raised, in the church in ministry, and so my pastor, being my godmother, she really had a huge hand in raising me. So, to keep me on the right track, I wasn't perfect my whole life, to be honest. But she actually got me started in almost everything that I've ever done. And that's why I even dedicated my book to her. On the first page, like I have a dedication to a number of different people, but she's the one who I really wrote a whole thing about. Because at the age of 11, she got me my first computer, which I broke. But that's what got me on the path to, like getting into cybersecurity. When I did a stint in politics, I was a political campaign strategist for a number of years, but she had me on the Supreme Court steps when I was 10. So, I have to give God the glory for her and what she has done in my life. But and growing up, I went to Hampton University. There I was a student leader, a part of SGA, and really was able to cut my teeth independently, helping to start different businesses, promotional companies, and things of that nature. So I've really wanted to do a lot of what I'm doing my entire life. When I came, actually, while I was in college, I was doing some campaign strategy. Worked for a gentleman named Gary Murray, who was at the time one of the wealthiest men in our county. And he and I are partnering on some things coming up. And he kind of took me under his wing and let me see what he was doing. He was doing venture capitalist. He actually launched 2 9-figure businesses. And, he really let me just sit down and learn from him for a number of years. And we've reconnected. But as I got out of the political game, I was blessed again by a gentleman from our ministry named CJ Sampson, who he knew about my history with computers. As I said, my pastor got me the first one. I worked at our ministry as a volunteer for a while, did everything from taking out trash to doing some network stuff. And so he knew that. And so he brought me on at what at the time was the largest minority consulting firm in the country, Thompson Cobb Basile Associates, now BCA, Basile Cobb Associates. And now while it's still considered a quote unquote small business, so I was able to learn a whole lot about the business. So not just doing IT audit and controls testing and things of that nature, but writing proposals, responding to RFPs, working, when you even at a small firm, even when you're kind of low man on the totem pole, you still end up having conversations with CEOs, CFOs, and things of that nature. While there, we had a gentleman who would come on and he would do our penetration test, the cybersecurity side, ethical hacking, and a couple of times I shadowed him. And I said, this is something I might be interested in, hacking and things of that nature. And so Mr. Samson Charlton, who's actually now one of my business partners, he paid for out of the company, they paid for me to go and get the certifications. So I became a certified ethical hacker, certified penetration tester, and moved on from there. Actually helped to build the cybersecurity arm of that company. When it was time for me to move on, I wanted to go independent. One of the great things is in building relationships, and this. You treat people right, they'll treat you right. They never replaced me. So to this day, they still hire me for projects. It's been almost a decade. To this day, they still hire me for projects, which helps out a lot. I'm actually working on a penetration test for an airport now with them. So, keeping those type of relationships is a wonderful thing. And also while there, again, they kind of throw you around different places. So I was able to work with I worked with audit mitigation. There was a school district that we were helping to get out of a bind, and I actually served as the interim chair of their budget committee. And so you just kind of see how a lot of different businesses work and see a lot of things that most people really don't get to see. Helping to write the strategic plan for the IT strategic plan for the United States Treasury Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, just tapping into all of this, but all the while understanding that there are things that are done on a large scale that would benefit small businesses. It helps with efficiency, helps with, profitability, helps with, even not spending, all the money that they do on software and things of that nature, personnel things and all of that. And so that's kind of how I formed Prototype Consulting Group, to say, hey, these are the things that I've learned out here, sitting at these tables, sitting on these boards, being in places that you just don't normally see, honestly, a young Black man in. And so let me take this back and say, hey, y'all, this is how we really run business. We can do this just as well, even if we're not doing it as big, and so, wrote the 7-Day Business Plan book. We went bestseller, did an excellent job with that. Did the camp with the children as a result of what was going on with COVID. It's like, oh, let's do this, because I really want to help the next generation. That's really become something that's deep in my heart, to help the next generation to learn how to start and grow their own business. Because entrepreneurship is really how we get to freedom. We get to liberty. We get to being able to call our own shots, where we don't have to depend on anybody else besides our own ingenuity, which I think is key to achieving what many will call the American dream. I hope I haven't said too much as an intro, but yeah.
Oh, I think fantastic. I do have a few questions, but I think you answered them all. So we did really good with that. No, I have I've taken a few notes, and one of the things that, well, I'll just mention a few things that really stood out to me there. Gary Murray, who said you're getting ready to do a little bit of work with again right now, but you developed that relationship years and years ago, and I think that that's very important to a lot of our listeners when they're trying to figure out, well, how do I get customers? How do I build my business? It's all about relationship. And you built that relationship so many years prior, but now maybe it's changing, or it's coming to fruition. I've had that a lot of times in my life too. I do real estate some, and I've had clients that I've worked with 8-10 years ago that just now come back to me and either want to buy a house or sell a property or something like that. So it's that relationship that you build early on. One of the other things that really caught my attention was all of the information that you have and all of the knowledge you have regarding all of the small little aspects of business that you do. You have built that up over, probably a shorter amount of time. I mean, 10 years or so. And I think that's so important in today's world, whether you call it an internship, whether you call it on-the-job training, learning from mentors, educational courses, whatever it may be. It's just that constant learning that I can tell that you've been doing over the years. And now it's turned into this big business for you. So I think the lesson there is the lack of discouragement that, maybe you've had it. I know I've had it over the years. I've had that discouragement sometimes, but I want to encourage everybody listening that you just have to keep pushing through and push on, because once you do, the culmination of everything will make a big, big difference in your life. You don't really have too many overnight successes.
I don't know. I say this all the time. I really don't think there's a such thing as an overnight success. It's other people wake up to you, not you wake up.
That's right.
It's all the things. And the thing is, even if someone is a quote unquote overnight success, somebody else did the work they're taking advantage of. But it does take work to build something to make it happen.
Definitely. So you talked about freedom a lot, and we both are firm believers in time freedom, in financial freedom, anything that freedom can give us in our business, that is important to us. So let's talk about your ideal work day. What does your average day really consist of?
What is an average day, man?
I know.
In the life of an entrepreneur. But yes, so my average day, it's actually beginning to change. But normally I'd wake up around 9:30, 10 o'clock. That's my ideal wake up time. I'm a night owl, not a morning person, not an early bird.
I'm sorry you said that because that's me too. Now
Yeah.
I do wake up a little bit earlier. I've got a 7-year-old
Oh
and
yeah.
we've got to take her to school and things like that. But yeah, I'm a night owl. Um, a mutual friend of ours, Doug, he was messaging me the other night. It was like 12:30, and I'm thinking, Doug, it's like 9:30 where you're at, but it's 12:30 where I'm at. So it's getting a little bit late.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's kind of how I start my day off. Wake up, pray, of course. Sometimes I eat, sometimes I don't. Brush my teeth because I can't operate without brushing my teeth. If I'm going somewhere early at that time, I'll take a shower at some point during the day. But but I normally jump right on the computer. I'm hopping in the emails because chances are by that time, everybody's emailed me because they wake up before me. So it's fine. Email me, check with text messages, all that type of stuff. Then I get to work. I see what my assistant has done. I have an assistant in the Philippines, and she actually does a lot of the work before I even wake up. And so there's about a 2 hour window when we're working at the exact same time. And so I'm going through, giving her notes on what she's done and all of that. Then I jump into whatever projects I have that day. In most cases, I'm juggling anywhere from 3 to 5 projects at a time. And that's kind of on purpose. I've self-diagnosed myself with adult ADHD. So I figure one of the best ways to handle that is to have a bunch of things to work on. So if my attention needs to go somewhere else, it's going somewhere productive. So it's not even necessarily multitasking, but it's just being able to jump to the left, to the right, and all of those things. So I really do that's kind of how that works. And then I go until I eat lunch maybe around 2 or 3 o'clock. Most of the time it's a working lunch because I'm taking a meeting. I try about noon to take what I call a walking meeting, so I to make sure I'm getting exercise. And so I'll call a business partner, call somebody, nothing that I need to take notes for, but if I need to bounce something off someone's head, get something off my chest, whatever it is, to make my exercise time also business productive. By about 6 o'clock in the evening, I'm winding down my projects, and then I'm switching over to business development. And then I can kind of turn on my TV while I'm working. I'm building a marketing something, or things that aren't necessarily revenue generating, but they will in the future. And that can go until about 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning until I can't go anymore. And then I hop into bed. But again, there is no what's the word, like typical day. I'm trying to get more typical. Like I've joined some masterminds and things of that nature that kind of stick on my calendar. Like I don't wake up at 9:30 anymore. I now wake up at 7:45 because the mastermind I'm in from 7:45 to 9 o'clock. And then I'll go back to sleep and wake up around 10. Just because I feel like I deserve this rest. But yeah, so that's kind of how the days go. That happens Sunday through Friday. I do follow the scripture, so I don't work on Saturday on the Sabbath. So honoring that, and I'm so grateful for it, because otherwise I probably work 7 days a week without stopping. Yeah, but that's a typical day, if that makes sense.
That's amazing. I feel like maybe you're my long lost twin or something. I mean, our schedules are very, very similar, and really never met anybody else before that has such a close schedule to my own. And if we were to put, I mean, aside from a few little things, I mean, for example, my little girl has to be out of the house usually around like 8:05, 8:10, so I can drive her to her. She's got a camp right now, so I drive her to camp. So that means I get up about 7:45, 7:50. I got plenty of time to get the door. And I have learned through a few people. There's a guy named Jesse Itzler. I don't know if you're familiar with who Jesse is, but he does a calendar club. And maybe in some of my calls, this is a different office, but you may have seen it up on the wall. I've got this big yearly calendar there.
Mhm.
And I try to plan a few things based on that. But he got me in the mindset of not necessarily, I'm just planning every single moment. Growing up, it was always, if you had to be somewhere by, say, 4:30, so you would leave at 4 o'clock, even if it's 5 minutes down the road. You're always early. You were always there. Well, now I find that I'm there right on time.
Mm.
I'll leave at 4:25 and I'll get there in the 5 minutes and I'm right on time. And then when it's time to leave, I'm gone. I'm to something else. Um, I watch Grant Cardone a lot. His schedule's very similar to that, as to where when it's time to go, he's out of there.
Yeah.
He's got a direct amount of time that he allots for everything. And I think that is very important. So I love that. I love the schedule, the average workday. I know what you mean. It's not, it's never average. And so,
Right.
okay, so I've got a question.
Yes.
Let's talk about the cybersecurity camp. This past year, I did my first cybersecurity conference, and it wasn't one that I put on completely. I was kind of the MC, the introductory guy for everybody. Um, and I always, even when it's my own seminars, if I've got somebody else that's going to speak for a little while, I'll sit down and take notes. I'll sit down and listen. I learned so much about that industry that day and realized how much I don't know. So you got into cybersecurity because you kind of shadowed someone in a business before. So tell me a little bit about why you chose to go down that path and what you think makes you successful there.
So what? Well, I think they're one and the same. The critical thinking portion of it, because when you're doing cybersecurity, it's very important that you're thinking on your feet. Because no two hacks are the same, no two clients are the same. I mean, there's certain things that you do every time, but more than anything, you have to be able to think very fast on your feet and be able to pick things out. The level of expertise that's necessary, it's yes, there are some really hard skills that you must know. But if you're doing them on your own, or you're leading them, or even doing them with the team, you really have to be able to pivot and look and move and know that there's more than one way to skin a cat. And that's, I love fields like that where it's not mundane, like every time it's always going to be like this, but it brings about that challenge. And so what got me into it was seeing that, like, every time we went to a different client, he was doing completely different tests every time. Some days you're sitting out in the car in front of somebody with a Pringles can. Other days you're leaving a computer in an office and nobody's in and just walking away from it. Some days you're sitting there telling somebody you are somebody who you aren't, in order to get their username and password. And so, getting into it really, it was like, oh man, this is always something different. The same with entrepreneurship. And so when it came to the camp piece, one of the things that I've learned about almost everything that I've done career wise that I started in my 20s, my 30s, is that there's very little that I could have, that had to wait to start. So I say, hey, if I can get to these young people as early as 12, 13, and even earlier than that, and begin to hone the skills, if they showing certain things, if they're always breaking a toy or breaking something, chances are they're very inquisitive, and instead of getting frustrated, let's find a way to direct it in a way. And so that's how I started with interns. One of my he's like a nephew. His dad's like an uncle to me, and he's like a nephew to me. Who goes again so many things that have birthed out of the ministry that I go to. And he wanted to be a hacker. He told me at the age of, like, I think 10 or 11, and he was doing stuff on the computer that his parents told me he's doing it. So I sat down and I told him, I said, look, you can't keep doing this on the computer. So I went and locked his computer down, and his parents' computer down, so he couldn't hack into it anymore. And he was mad at me. I said, as soon as your parents tell you that you're ready and you've been being obedient, I will teach you everything that I know. It took about 7 years for him to get there. 6 or 7 years to get there, but then he did it. So I brought him on, and that's how I started the internship program. And from there, I started the camp because there were so many other young people who wanted to learn it. And so I brought them on. I do kind of like a boot camp thing, and a couple of them have actually went from intern to even being hired. So I actually had him teach the course that I did this year. I mean, I oversaw it. We were actually in a school, and we took over a classroom for an entire week, and we taught the skills and things of it. So that's kind of how it's gotten birth to say, hey, I don't want our students, because that's one of the issues I kind of have with not just this generation, but kind of like, you know, in the United States, is we wait for adulthood to give responsibility or to treat people a certain way. It's like, you don't have to be, you can know who you are before 18. You can do things before 18. You know, don't just think you can sit there and play video games all day and that's gonna, and all of a sudden a switch is gonna be flipped and you're gonna be responsible. Now let's start it right now. Learn these things, do these things, because I feel that they're very important to their daily growth. So that's kind of how it started. So yeah.
That's pretty awesome. I think that that is a wonderful idea, you know, helping youth. I worked with an entrepreneurship camp in conjunction with a local 4-H for a good many years. And it's amazing learning what some of these kids are what their mindset is. And you know, why not? You know, if I had known the stuff, you know, when I was a kid that I know now, I mean, we had so many opportunities.
Yes, indeed. Even one of the, you know, it got so good. So I did, when I partnered with our school system here, and they let me run the camp myself. You know, I hired, you know, other coaches and things of that nature. And so I was able to invite out, you know, a lot of people from the business community, and they were so impressed. Like, wait, how did these? I mean, one was 13 years old, you know, talking about a photography business, and spoke with such confidence
Mhm.
and a surety, and knowing the equipment, where to shoot, all of this stuff. And then it was supposed to be $1,000 prize for the best pitch. And when we did the calculations, there was a 0.02 difference between the first and second place.
Wow.
And they were like, well, you can split it, has 2 first place winners. I said, well, if they're both in first place, then they both deserve $1,000. And so reach in my pocket, and that's what I did, because it's like, y'all both won this. And it's not no participation trophy. Everybody gets, because we had 50 students, we only had, you know, 10 finalists. And then these were the 2 at the top. And they both had their ideas were so ingenious. You know, it wasn't even like, one had a dessert company that, you know, basically catered to diabetic needs and things of that nature. I mean, it was very, very specific and needed, especially in our community. Not diabetic, but dietary needs, included diabetes, you know, gluten, all of these things. And it was like, if you want to be a part, if you want to be able to take advantage of this, we're not just saying, here, do this. We're actually creating a plan for you to be able to enjoy desserts. Like, come on, that's amazing. And then there's one, I won't even say what his idea was because he hasn't patented it yet, and it was that good.
That's good. That's amazing.
It was, and so I said, you know, you both get this. And you know, the chairman of the Chamber of Commerce was there, and you know, I'm on some boards in the county, and they actually want to help him to build it in our county.
Yeah, I see that that is a wonderful need. I'm probably a little bit older than you, a good bit older than you. But I've been in this space for probably about 26 years now. And I would say that in 26 years, I probably have either been a mentor or a judge for close to 1,000 business plan competitions. And I will tell you, that is one of the most rewarding things I think I've done.
Yes.
Is work with these brand new entrepreneurs. Now some of them I've helped, you know, start their own business and things like that. But at the most part, just seeing their ideas. And that's really honestly what got me into business to begin with, was when I was in college, a class that we had, that the teacher came in and just basically said, you've got to write a business plan. You've got to present it. You've got to start this. and I'm going to give you certain grades, either an A, B, or a C.
Mhm.
And it was my last semester, and I wanted or quarter. We were on the quarter system. I wanted an A, so I put a lot of effort into it, and I guess that's what propelled me to this day. Okay, so we talked about the camp. We talked about some of the courses that you have. You got something new that just launched yesterday, and I'll throw it up here on the screen just a little bit. Here is your Friends with Business podcast. It started yesterday. How's it going to go? Tell me a little bit about it.
So essentially, this again, everything is need based. Like necessity is the mother of invention.
Mm-hmm.
I have 5,000 friends on Facebook. I'm at the limit,
Yeah.
and most of them have businesses, and I often see them promoting them, all the time. And then at the same time, because of my connections and where I've been, and I'm quote unquote popular, in school, whether middle school, high school, college, and even post. But people kind of know me, and they come to me and they ask me for recommendations for people, and I say, well, maybe I should just create a platform where I can just highlight folks to give them that opportunity. So instead of it being in my inbox, people asking me questions, they actually can make this happen and see it. And also, it will give me the opportunity to showcase, some of even what I know of how I can help business. Because as we talk about it, I'm often, giving tips and tricks on how to expand whatever it is that they're offering. So people are like, oh, there's so dual benefit, of course, on the marketing side for me, but also for them. Again, that's the point is for me to talk to people that I know. Like I'm not going out recruiting
Mm-hmm.
business folks that I've never had an interaction with. It's really, okay, we've interacted here. I mean, it doesn't have to be a deep, I've known you for 35 years, but if we've connected in a way where we feel like it's mutual, we have a mutual bond. There's something that we see, like, we're talking about our schedule. It's like, okay, yeah, that we can have these conversations and they're very informal. Sometimes we go into things that just kind of what we think. It gets a little social issues sometimes. You don't always agree with me. I get it. But but we bring these things out, bring them to light. So people can actually see the mind of an entrepreneur, what exactly goes into it. Because I've learned that so many people don't even understand what entrepreneurship is, what business ownership is. And so I feel like people who know me, trust me, and I know and trust them, we can have these real conversations. So that we take off the shiny paper. We take it off. Like yesterday, I did an interview with somebody. We talked about the importance of fitness for entrepreneurs. I've gained a lot of weight, and I need to lose it. So by the end of it, it was like he and I are creating a challenge together, a 21-day challenge for entrepreneurs to get in shape. So those are the type of things that come from, and that's the reason that we're having it. That I created it is really to showcase and just help people who are in business or who need businesses to be highlighted.
That's pretty awesome. I probably need to take that challenge. I'm kind of in the same boat. Now I'm gonna put you on the spot for just a second. We've learned a lot about your business and businesses and things that you do. What's one thing that you enjoy doing, you're passionate about? Maybe it's a hobby, it could be whatever, but what's one thing that most people don't know about you that you want to share with us?
One thing that I'm a drummer. I'm actually a classically trained musician.
Awesome.
Uh, yeah, I am a drummer. I've been playing. I started a lot later than most people, playing since my teenage years, but I started off in my church, of course, and I played in school. I was drum captain of the marching band at my high school. Then I went to college and played for a cover band called Waterfront Harmony, and we opened up for people like Jill Scott, John Legend, the Clips, Music Soul Child. So played on some really, really big stages. But it's really a passion of mine, something I got from my dad. Even though he didn't teach me how to play drums, I inherited it through him, Carl Jr. And he's played for people like Isaac Hayes and some of those. So it's kind of like in my blood. And I don't consider myself a drummer anymore, but it's something that I do and that I really enjoy doing. I probably have some other things as well. Like I read policy,
Oh,
like public policy, like legislation. Instead of looking at the headlines, I'll actually read the legislation. I love the Constitution. as written, I get into that kind of stuff, and which kind of probably gets me in trouble with people all the time, but whatever. But yeah, like that's something most people don't really know about me, as far as now. I mean, people who knew me back in the day, they did, but yeah, I'm a drummer.
That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. This is my favorite question. In all the questions that I ask people on this podcast, my favorite question is, what's something that we don't know about? And what's ironic about this question is that, let's say I have somebody that's a guest on here that I know drums for their church.
Mm-hmm.
I ask this question, they don't even mention it. They're like, "Oh, I love to garden. That's my favorite thing. I love garden." And that's winning the challenge right now. That is the number one hobby that most people have that nobody knows about them. So anyway, I think drumming. Wow. I know, kind of crazy. Okay, we're gonna finish it up here. A final question is not necessarily a question, but what are some tips that you've got for somebody that wants to start a business, say in the cybersecurity field, or maybe they want to do training and courses like what you do? What's one tip that you can leave them with?
I think the best tip I can leave for anyone who wants to jump into these fields is don't be afraid to be out of balance. Be in focus. I watched a Myron Golden, very good speaker, and actually had the opportunity to share stage with him at one point some years ago at my church. But what he says is you're either going to be out of balance or out of focus. You can't be both. Just like with the camera, like, if it's imbalance, then that means something's going to be out of focus. If everything is balanced, something's going to be out of focus. And if you're focused, something's going to be out of balance. So whether it's home life, if you're focused on your home life, then your business life is going to be out of focus. If you're focused on your business life, then your family's going to be out of focus. Now you have to adjust going back and forth between the two. But, oftentimes people talk about work-life balance and things of that nature. No, just work-life management is what's more important. Be intentional about the things that you do. But if you expect it to be balanced, if you expect it to be easy, going into any field where you want to be excellent, you're sadly mistaken. You're going to miss out on sleep sometimes. You're going to miss out on some social things. Some people might be mad at you every once in a while. You got to go do some apologizing, some foot rubbing and things like that. You got to do that often. So, make sure that, you understand that it's not going to be it's not a fairy tale. There is no fairy tale in this, but it is a story that you can write and make happen.
It's pretty awesome. It's a great way to end the day. I think that, you don't want to be sadly mistaken in any business. Go at it with the best foot forward. Don't worry about mistakes. You're going to make them. We all do. Just grow from them. So, Carl, it's been great having you here with us today. I'm excited that we finally connected on here. And yeah, I love Myron too. He's got some great stuff there.
Woo. He's one of the only mindset people that I can listen to.
Oh yeah.
Because his mindset it's here with it. It's like, oh yeah, this is through the roof. The way that he brings things down and understands it. Like I can sit there and watch. That's the one person, like I'll go down a rabbit hole. Like I'll watch one thing and then watch 5 different things, and then 10 hours later, I watch a bunch of stuff. But yeah, he's excellent. He's excellent.
Yeah, I like watching the especially if there's the ability to see people in the room with him, like watching everybody else, because it's like, their minds are just blowing because of some of the things that he says and does. It's unbelievable.
Yes.
Well, Carl, it's been great today. Thanks so much for being here. I'm gonna go ahead and stop this right now, but I will go ahead and say that if you are interested in more of the Experts Game podcast, please make sure you follow us on YouTube. Make sure you look at some of our previous interviews. If by some chance you're interested in becoming a guest on the podcast, please make sure you comment or just send me a direct message. I'm going to post some of your information down in the bottom below this video, and hopefully we'll get some people to reach out to you as well.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me. I loved it.
Friend, Appreciate it so much. And I will talk to all of you guys soon. Have a great afternoon.